Welcome back to that very short break here at the IESF World Esports Championship Qualifiers. More specifically, the Asia and Oceania region. We have a leaderboard for you, and that is the most interesting screen that we can potentially show you right after match number 4 is coming up. So let's take a look. I'm interested to see. I said it before. I'm interested to see how far Indonesia is ahead now. As you said, 3 times the second spot. Are we going to see a win, Kovo? Are we going to see a win today?
We'll see. I think the second place curse is not the worst thing in the world. Second place is not all too bad. But last game, 8 eliminations for Yami alone.
Wow.
One headshot in that. 27 minutes is all that game took. And, well, I'm actually Crazy's last one alive, so 27 is not exactly how long that game took, but big bunch of points just on one player. 8 eliminations is a whole lot to get for yourselves. I think out of the 15 that the whole team got, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 27 survival time, obviously. You would think they would win the game if you have a match MVP that survived for almost 28 minutes and it's got 8 eliminations, but no, they didn't. That's the even crazier part. Let's take a look at some of these head-to-head statistics. I'm guessing we're gonna see someone from Nepal on the other side, and let's see if my guess is correct. Yes, we do. So, 5 to 8. I still gotta go with the deserving MVP towards Yami, even though obviously the Nepal players had one hell of a game, but the late game zone unfortunately just wasn't too favorable. And Indonesia losing one of the process against that breach from Vietnam, they just couldn't bring it back, and I understand.
Yeah, almost same amount of damage, even though there's 3 more kills on Yami. So a little bit of less damage farming maybe on the side of Indonesia, a little bit more just straight up aggression very quickly. We'll see that in the team standoff as well as we head to the head-to-head. And yeah, more damage overall, I guess, on Indonesia. But considering they also got 4 more eliminations, that's not all too crazy. And, well, that's 4 less placement points for them. 4 more eliminations. So they're going to go out pretty much evenly out of that match 3.
Yeah, as you said, no one's really, at least point-wise, at a disadvantage going off of their game. Indonesia, due to the fact that they have 15 eliminations, they do get quite a chunk of points to their elimination points as well. Let's take a look at some of these post-match 3 statistics and summaries. Only 2 vehicle eliminations as well. We had 2, I think, in the last game and only 1 in the first game. I'm really surprised to see not more teams using vehicles in late game, because I feel like, except for Indonesia, and we said it time and time again, except for Indonesia and maybe Vietnam, no one's really been using it past phase 4 and phase 5, and I think that's the biggest differentiator, and we talked about this already, but I kind of want to touch on this again. That's the biggest differentiator that you can see as a viewer between more experienced teams and less experienced teams. The more experienced teams tend to continuously use vehicles, even in the later stages, and make it a priority to save those, especially.
Yeah, and so far it's been a bit of a show for Indonesia on the vehicle usage. Nepal a little bit better in the team fights, and out of game 3 they go out head-to-head evenly. Malaysia with 12, Brunei with 10, and then it sort of trickles on down. So pretty frag heavy towards the top, 11 elims, 15, and then 10. So 3 teams in double digits, which seems crazy at first. It's a little less crazy when you understand that there's 2 more teams than usual, right? So there will be a few more kills, but massive performances from the top teams here once again. And Timor-Leste falling off a little bit, Bangladesh falling off a little bit. So slowly but surely, we're crystallizing out the teams that are managing to stay consistent. Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of worried for Bangladesh. We have a huge fan base in the chat from Bangladesh, and so far they've unfortunately always lost the one fight that would have brought them into late game. In the last game as well, that was such a good breach. They almost won that breach against Malaysia, even though there were literally 4 players with their backs against the blue zone, driving across open field towards Malaysia. And they still would have almost won that fight. That's the crazy part. So Bangladesh, 19 points. I think very underestimated team so far. I think if they get the zone for once, they don't have to chase it as much, and they win the fight, we could easily see them being a top contender for the top 3 as well. And that's the standings at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. 45 points, 39 and 34. These are the qualification spots right now with Indonesia and Nepal, and Malaysia being in the top 3. Yeah, Malaysia as well. Fairly consistent throughout, and fairly consistent throughout the eliminations especially. as they haven't been able to keep up with what Indonesia has been doing. 18 placement points in 3 matches is absolutely mental, right? So they're separating themselves from the pack a little bit, and then the top 3 is separated from 4 and 5 as well. Bhutan, with their one massive performance, keeping themselves close in contention. Vietnam is there as well, and then it slowly trickles on down. But I'd say everybody that's on this page is still just absolutely okay. The gaps are considerable, but the gaps are still absolutely doable even today, right? And then you have a full day tomorrow. But like we talked about earlier a little bit, you want to be getting yourself ahead today, because tomorrow is going to go crazier and crazier as more teams lose the chance to compete. So Indonesia, Nepal, Malaysia are really doing a whole bunch of work here already for their qualification.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And this is also the kind of the difference that we set a 12 best of 12 was going to make. Even now, a 10-15 point difference, even from first page to second page, is such a huge increase in what you have to accomplish, right? Especially for these teams that we haven't seen do points consistently, and we got to talk about all these teams at the second page here, especially Cambodia, for example. To me personally, the biggest upset right now is Cambodia. All of these teams, if they don't make a change today, it has to be today, you're not going to qualify. It is a top 3. These top teams will not stop doing points. Indonesia, let's be honest, as well as Nepal, as well as maybe even Bhutan, they haven't shown us any sort of indication that they would be stepping down. Vietnam hasn't either. They are consistently doing the points. Whether or not they're actually winning the rounds is a different kind of scenario, but they are doing the points. If you're Cambodia right now, I would be in big trouble. They need to step up today, otherwise it's not going to be enough.
Yeah. Bit of a breaking point halfway there. We have one more ERANGEL coming up for you guys in a few seconds, and then we have 2 Miramars to close it out for today. So it's do or die. It's go big or go home for some of these teams at the bottom, and then it's time to try and stay consistent with what you've been doing for the teams at the top. I think you wouldn't expect a team to go as crazy as Indonesia is going for 12 games in a row. You expect them to fall off a little bit at some point, get a little bit unlucky maybe, unless they're really just rolling over everyone. Usually, just based off experience, the top falls off a little bit, the bottom catches up a little bit, but there's quite a big gap already, so they really, like you said, have to get going soon.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm really worried for them right now. It is the best of 12. We will have one day of pause, and that's the good thing for these teams that may haven't performed as well today. You will have a pause day tomorrow. We will see the rest of Group A being played out, and that means you can have you can review some of these games and take a look at what you've done wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into match number 4 here at the IESF Asia and Oceania Regional Qualifiers. Once again, it is top 3 in this lobby. 6 games today, 6 games the day after tomorrow that are being played to determine who is going to Riyadh at the later stages of this year.
Another harsh plane. Another plane that doesn't really cross all too much through the middle. And another plane that's going to force a few hot drops here or there. I can already see Thailand once again. They've been loving these early fights. They've been coming out on top of them for the most part, so they're not scaring away from it. Indonesia parachuting over Pachinki towards the Skol Rozak area. We'll see if they have a bit of a clash going on there. As we have Timor-Leste very close to them. There's the first knocks coming on out. And once again, Thailand starting hot, starting with a bit of a hot drop and starting with the first kill.
See if they can make it a second one. They're so desperately in need of it. The MVP in round number 2, if I remember correctly, to a 3-0. Also a very experienced player coming in from the Thailand region. Also brought their fan base with them. Looking to potentially make this hot job work. Also, that's due to the fact that we haven't really seen this play path and no one's really been able to loot this spot just yet, if I remember correctly. So this hot job might come as a surprise to both of these teams. And boy, still looking for the first initial knock as both of them are. Oh, in the meanwhile, it's Vietnam losing a player. Gozu goes down. That's a huge bummer. Vietnam needs to stay at the very top of their feet as well. They don't want to lose the gap they've created.
It's always rough. It's rough. It's rough on multiple fronts when you lose a player so early. It really puts you in a bit of a more defensive position for the rest of the matches. It really slows you right back down as Thailand is on a big breach and a big clear throughout that building. Cambodia once again on the hot drop in Millie base. It's a tricky decision to make, right? They want their loot spots and they want to contest it early and clear it out early, but with how these games have been going so far, both of these teams will be better off leaving the hot drop. Cambodia, though, we saw them last match. We saw them around that Milta Power area, and it wasn't much better for them, so maybe they decided that to perform well, they need military base, and in that case, well, it's only fair to contest for it. Thailand wants to clear. They want to get Boy off that roof, but Boy has a shotgun, and Boy is trying to make it as hard as he can for them. There's the shots coming out. There's the knock, and that should be the confirm here any second. Starting off well for Thailand.
Yes, it is. Secret gets that one as we switch on over to the second hot drop. We've seen this so far. Cambodia goes down again. Oh, my lord. This is disastrous, ladies and gentlemen, for any Cambodian fan. We said they needed to step up. This is such a strong roster. And in the best of 12, maybe, just maybe, do not contest if it doesn't work out for the first time. Because as you can see right now, that's one last chance for them to make something happen. This is a contender that we're talking about right now. Being at the very bottom of the leaderboard, Cambodia just not getting their footing in any sort of qualification here from the games we've seen so far. This is, man, this is nothing short of disastrous. And Pakistan on the other side, not losing a player either. How great is that?
I'm loving this for Pakistan, especially with how explosive they handled that. I was not ready for that hot drop to even happen. Remember watching game one, they just sat in buildings opposite of each other for what felt like ages, not really engaging on each other. Now, they absolutely explode on it. They clear it out fast. They get themselves the 4 elims, and they get themselves moving towards the circle. So that's really, really big for Pakistan, and that's a good chance for them to get something going and claw their way back up that scoreboard as they have finally dealt with the loot spot clash. Now, with the circle as well, that's fairly far away from the plane path, Felix. They might have a good chance to just slot on through there towards that eastern side if they are quick with it.
Circle shifts. I already talked about it. Far towards the southeastern side. Should be pretty good for Pakistan as well. Sri Lanka is probably the team that has the furthest to rotate. And also the Kameshki team up towards the top, which I did think was Vietnam, actually. I'm going to take a look back. I can't really make out the names.
Vietnam's in Pochinki.
Oh, Vietnam's in Pochinki,
it's a little bit hard on the map. The map's very small for us casters. You got to bear with us. We have old eyes and looking at a small map, so I'm not sure about that. Bangladesh close by, though. We have Taipei in the northern George Paul area, and we'll see what they make on their way towards the circle. Again, a very contested western side here, as the plane was so far west and the circle so far east, Felix.
Yeah. First teams are rotating on through. I always think with that many teams in the lobby, not even too much sense in rotating on early. The center is going to be taken anyway, but look at this. All these teams relatively late in rotation timings. Even the ones that do have prio, no one's really opting to go for a deep eastern rotate. Not even the team in Kameshki, who should know, just based off of the plane path, that everything over there is clear. So very interesting to note. Usually we do have the middle relatively stacked, and I think we will have at the end of phase 1 it as well, but no one's really looking at the timing too much. Maybe also because you don't know the other teams. You don't know their rotation timing anyways. So maybe an early rotation timing isn't going to give you the same benefits as it usually does.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. I've talked to a fellow analyst who's looking at these games as well to try and figure out what some of these teams are doing and try and learn about how they approach the game. But then you watch the map, you watch a little bit of the gameplay, and you're not quite sure why some of these teams aren't going for a little deeper rotations. We talk about Prio, right? We're talking about the Novo team here that has a big bunch of zone in front of them that is completely empty. But they're deciding to play this one quite slow, stick around the bridges, and just hold their ground for now, not going for what we would consider Prio, so they have other plans in mind. Brunei, on the other hand, I think losing a member early here, so is Vietnam. You called that out earlier. Some of the heavy fragging teams already dropping members.
Yeah. Nothing too surprising. Talking about heavy hitters, losing members. Gozu was one of the first one to go down. They've got another team right in front of them. Not sure how they're going to play this. Looks like they don't want to necessarily engage this just yet. Once again, they are pretty good in the circle. They would have prio for some other really good spots. For some other really good hardcover spots especially, where they wouldn't necessarily have other teams running straight at them, and thus having the man advantage on them. But they want to stay on this potato hill. Interestingly enough, they want to keep this position. Maldives, in the meanwhile, picking up the first frag for them as well. They've been quiet so far. The first 3 matches, not really seen much from the Maldives. Maybe that is the wake-up call they need.
Maybe it is. Bhutan, talking about heavy fragging teams losing members. They are the next in line. They are not ready for a team to just be holding on out here. They haven't had the slightest idea somebody would just be sitting in that Crossroads compound, and they do get punished for it. That's how quick it goes sometimes in a PUBG match. Now, Tsar, he's been MVP before. He's now trying to make a stand, but he's severely outnumbered on this hilltop. No teammates close by, so he pulls away quite quickly. As now at least they're all in cars when this zone will happen. They might have a chance to rotate on in on this, but they have to dissolve this fight, and the Maldives are not letting him go. They're trying to hunt him down, Felix.
Oh, yes. And it might just work too, based off of the positions they have. Maybe not so much anymore. Momo has exited the vehicle though. Has to be careful of not getting shot out immediately. There's shots following them, and yes, Momo goes down. As it is the first frag for the Maldives. Again, at least in this instance, after the first initial one, the Maldives need that desperately as well. They need the confidence, especially. They need to bring it back, and you can only do that if you find enough players also in the early stages where you have isolated one once, you can build your confidence back up. On the later stages, that's going to get significantly harder.
Talked so much so far about third parties. That's exactly why you want to take fights early, right? It's exactly the reasoning to take a fight early, and it's also the reasoning why you might want to go for a sneaky play and go for a bit of a rat play in a compound. You weaken the team next to you, you put them down to 3 members, suddenly they're much easier to punish than a full 4-man team. You're already outnumbering them, you have more information, you have more angles, and it becomes quite easy to keep punishing that team, and they do so here very effectively, the Maldives. Circle has gone to the farm area though, and that was probably the most occupied area already before the circle shift, Felix, so now it's getting super stacked.
As a caster, if you can't tell which teams are actually in there, then you know it's stacked. And we've been at this point for some time now. We can't even make out all of the names inside the current safe zone. That's just how crazy it is. Thailand, kind of using the strategy that we've talked about in the previous game, making sure you kind of dodge all these early skirmishes at the circle edge and all these teams rotating into each other because of less space. Obviously, due to the fact that we have 18 teams. So they kind of just dodge all this, rotate in with the circle on phase 3. Also interesting, very good working strategy so far. As we head on over to Bangladesh and Brunei. That is a good timing coming out from Brunei. Oh my lord! Newbies takes him down. There is one trade that happened though, and that is from Sketchy. He was the only player, unfortunately, in that building, and he was the last player for Bangladesh as well. If Sketchy would have done this, then all of them would have been eliminated, but yeah, he saves Bangladesh, fortunately, because I've been waiting for a good game from them.
It's a little bit disjointed from Brunei. We've praised them for their team fights, right? We've praised them for their coordination so far, but now very widely split in a 2v2, and not able to get the trades in time. Even though they get the knocks, they're not getting the finishes. That's a good nade onto Lamborghini. Sets him down instantly on his knees. And the rest of Vietnam, they have to roll on in. They want to try and close this out, but they realize this is not going to be happening. And this is not a fight we are able to take. We don't want this 2v2 in the compound right now. And a bit of util holds Shui and the rest of Brunei in this game.
Yeah. Shui 2 frags. At least something they can look forward to in the next couple of games, but qualification at this stage already is looking so grim. But who knows? At all times, never count anyone out. Unless it's mathematically impossible. Bangladesh, due to the fact that they won this fight, did lose a player though, but at least have a good spot inside the next circle. No one's really around them in the farm area, and there's always this opportunity to just walk up the hill on the north side. Depending on how the next circle shifts. If it does decide to go east, that is a tough one. They would probably need vehicles, and even then, becomes almost impossible. The big split in the middle of the map, but that is Indonesia against, and that's what I want to talk about. What a position, what a potential play.
That is a confidence split right there. That's not a, we'll play it safe. We're making sure that we have enough support and enough cover for each other. That is a, we can take whatever we want and we'll hopefully get away with it. That's a crazy split. Vietnam, they've been on a bit of a cruise throughout this circle. They've been trying to find a home. Nice and early in this phase 3 as they lost 2 members in phase 1 and 2. But so far, not looking all that good. Malaysia pick up 1, looking to hold that dirt road around the wizard tower, and a nice little pop from Cluck. Make sure that nobody gets all too excited peeking towards them. That's the kind of pressure you want to be putting out to make sure that nobody's going all too crazy on you. Did he just get team flashed? What did I just see?
I am not sure anymore.
I feel like he just got flashed by his teammate.
Maybe. So the
stop sitting on the shack. Stop peeking people 400 meters away. Come back down.
Stop wasting your ammo.
Yeah.
I understand. As players, we all understand.
We all have that one teammate, right? We all have that one teammate.
Farming the damage. Let's take a look at the statistics after the game. Especially in relation to his kills. Anyways, Malaysia still up on the road. Still looking to find something.
We have Sri Lanka coming up on the Raptor Road, the dirt road, trying to fight their way into Malaysia. Malaysia's well aware of what's coming their way. Good bit of damage. They need to follow it up, but not going to find the knock into the shack just yet. As they are looking to fight for every little bit of terrain here. If that molly hits the door, if that molly goes inside, there's maybe a chance where Clumsy actually does make it out the back. And a bit of a disengage from the Malaysia team as they realize that they don't want to overstep. They don't want to commit all of their resources. Taipei is coming on in on the other side of things. This is going to be a complicated fight for the top as phase 4 has shifted on away. And looking like all of these teams will have to make moves at some point. But for now, they're all just trying to win a team fight. They're all just trying to take these 4 points when they can get them. Looks like we lost Felix there for a bit. Surely going to be getting him back in the seat for in another few minutes. Sri Lanka really just struggling to hold any of their ground here, and you can understand why. Malaysia peeking in from one side, Taipei aggressing from the other. Lots of util coming their way. Effect, the only thing that's saving him right now is that shack he's hiding on out in. And if they ever find an aid inside of it, it might be over. And there it is. That's a beautiful one from Cluck. The man's been popping off consistently in these games. Leaves Cesar left to his own devices. And he's still just trying to hold on. Just trying to lay low. He's not even worried about Malaysia. He knows he can't fight Malaysia. He's just trying to hold the team that has blue pressure behind them. As Malaysia is biting off a whole lot more. We'll see if they can chew it all, but they have the chance to fall away from this. They have the chance to reposition. They don't have to overly commit, and that's the most beneficial fights you can take. Look on over, see what kills you get, fall away whenever you want to, and they've been doing that beautifully so far. Phase 4 is creeping its way on in. And it's actually a res coming out. It's actually a res coming out from Sri Lanka.
Well, let's see if it works. Good shots. Went out from Jimmy, though, into the distance. But very few positions you can play that really have hard cover. That's why the Sri Lanka is. Oh, we will.
Not looking all that good for Timor-Leste as well on that northern side. They're trying to third party, trying to get some of these kills in. They're getting the confirmed, but they're also getting torn apart from the sides. Taipei rolling on in. They are getting the road kill at least. Pink is the last one off, trying to get the hell out of there. Not gonna happen, as that roadside on the north is getting so bloody. It's not looking clean for anyone involved. Kevin wants to get the hell out of there, wants to try and reposition towards the north where he has some teammates left, but Thailand already lurking on in the distance. Looking to pick up whatever is left from that fight. See what happens to the remainders of Timor-Leste. But I'm not worried about Malaysia here on the top. They've lost one now, but they've gotten themselves so much space just by rotating around and making sure that they keep punishing the teams wherever they could. See Laos fall away from it as well. And with a phase 5 shifting on in, they control a pretty good route into the circle. Wow, Jimmy with the Bison. Takes down another one. 4 eliminations for Malaysia. You take those. Take those any day of the week. Bangladesh on the other side, they've had trouble getting out of their compound. They have lost one, almost lost the second as well here if they don't get the res on through. They have gotten the res and brought themselves back up to 3 players, but not a whole lot of playable ground. Noki as well is under the heavy eyes of Degree. And if Noki survives here, that's bad news for Bangladesh. That's another angle that they have to worry about. The smokes will be coming out behind that car, surely. And there is the shots. There is the knock. And this is getting tricky for Bangladesh. They've had the circle position, but they haven't had playable cover here at all. So we're actually seeing Pakistan clean this up from the bottom.
Down to the timing. Right now, if they would breach it, they were still visible from up the hill, from the rest of the zone, to be honest, even from the east side. Someone could look in, even Indonesia could have a say in this. But it looks like they're going to decide against it. For the time being, they are content with the ridgeline they have. If that works out for this phase, I am not so sure, though.
It's a tricky circle for everybody that's on the edge, especially that southern edge, right? To Pakistan looking super tricky. And then in the middle, we just have Kevin vibing on out, surviving on his lonesome, as they are just down to 1 single member. We'll see what happens in this compound. Like you said, there's a breach on the cards, but Malaysia is getting close on the top, and they can start looking on over this ridge. They can pull up to the rock and start looking on down. And that makes the that makes the breach even more treacherous if you have another team just eyeing you up from the top.
More shots coming out from Thailand. They're still looking to find an entry as well. We still have Pakistan in the previous spot that we were talking about. And you can tell that they don't really know what to make of this. There's no way to push up the hill towards the western side. There's no way to rotate around the eastern side. And as the circle closes, even the timing on the breach against the Maldives is going to be even tougher. So Maldives potentially in a great spot to eventually pick up some easy frags when that breach does come through, because they will be supported by Malaysia up the hill.
11 kills for Pakistan already. That's absolutely mental for them so far. But like you said, it's not looking super promising, whatever the rest of the game has in store for them. Thailand in the north, 6 eliminations for them as well. 4-man strong, still firmly in the circle, and quite a few playable lines out towards the hill. But we'll have to wait and see what this zone does. This phase 6 is going to be massively impactful. And as we see, a lot of these teams are already in dire positions. A shift against them put them in terrible spots. Indonesia is probably the first time we've seen them lose 2 members so early here, Felix.
Yeah. Not really surprising. I mean, we talked about the confidence in that original split, and they wanted to go for it. They wanted to maximize this round again. If you have 3 rounds, you still need to maximize to get a good round, even though you're literally in a winning spot already. I'm not so sure. I feel like Indonesia has thrown it to some degree with that split, but either way, even with these 2 plays, they will still be just as dangerous as others with a full 4-man, so I'm not too worried. Yes, they need to move, but they will have so much more kill potential, as you can see right here. For example, Pakistan, we said it before, if they do not move the circle earlier, they will be stuck to the blue zone, that's what's happening.
It's not looking good at all. They were trying to go for a play, but it was too little too late. Now they're bandaging backs against the blue. But one player really left standing to make any sort of approach to the compound, and he's all left to his own devices. He's breached on in. He's trying to go past, I believe, trying to find a ridge maybe next to the road, maybe somewhere on the shelter area. but it's not looking good. Bhutan falls. Agent flushed out for the Maldives as well. It's not looking good for a whole lot of these teams that have to make moves with the circle. A little bit overzealous, maybe. A little bit too fast. For the Maldives, as a team like Malaysia is able to just look over from the top and Indonesia from the other side, making this very hard to get out of the compound.
Sri Lankan supporters in the chat putting up some more donations here. Thank you very much for your support, and shout out to the Sri Lankan fan base as they are once again being supported in the chat by the Esports Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going back to Indonesia. The team to watch so far, they have found another footing in the current safe zone, far towards the eastern side, and that third party just popping away. As we said, there's more clear potential for them to be found, because the east side is clear, and the west side really is. Malaysia, as you can tell, is only down to one more player after that initial fight has finished. And Maldives, finally in a prime spot to make something happen. Unfortunately, we're not finding the big round they've been waiting for, just 5 points being secured with that 7th place.
Big game for Malaysia, though. They've kind of just been creeping away the points as well. They've been putting up numbers every single game. They have not had these pop-off performances some of the other teams have shown up, but they're once again putting up a whole bunch of kills on that western side, clearing out fight after fight on that dirt road, and now another one taking down not only the compound team, but the solo from Timor-Leste right below them, and in one of the best positions in this circle right now. I think Thailand, you got to give it to them. That ridge is incredible that they're holding down for now. But Malaysia has been so active, proactive, aggressive on that hilltop. And they've already rewarded themselves with a whole lot of kill points. We'll see what they do next zone once it shifts away from them. But for now, they've really put in great work.
Yeah, they really have. Thailand has probably got the biggest play in the circle right now, I want to say. At least in terms of 4-man. Taking space, they're probably at the very best spot you could be. But then again, in terms of looking at the zone as one, they're getting pressured from all sorts of sides. So they really need to decide smartly on which fight they want to take. They have Malaysia back on top. They have an entry towards Shelter, but Shelter's always out of the zone. So yeah, I'm not even sure what they should focus on right now. For the time being, they are safe, yes. But they're not necessarily winning positions. We'll have to wait and see what Malaysia does.
Loving this from Malaysia right now. Smoking for the teammate up on top, trying to get him down, trying to help him regroup with the rest of the squad. And once they've done that, we'll see them make an approach. Do they wait a little bit for the rest of the circle to heat on up and for more fights to erupt? Or do they go instantly? That's a decision they'll have to make. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them go down towards that southeastern side. Maybe make their way in on that Shelter edge towards Indonesia and fight from there. It's just so much more fightable once you're down in the low ground and you're not running down a hill with the rest of the lobby just looking at you, trying to put you down.
Yeah, indeed. And I feel like this player from Thailand is probably the most important run right now. The way he just covers that complete west side and keeps everyone from shooting at them is just so strong. You can see Natawet and the rest of his team just, as a result of that, having way less pressure. Let's see when the next move has to come in. And for this phase, it is really only Malaysia and the ones older towards the southern side that has to move. But for the rest, if Malaysia does make it in, that's going to mean a whole lot of trouble on the edges. Pakistan being the zone we talked about. There it is. Indonesia picking up another frag, and it is the 8th frag at that. Time and time again, they've shown us that this lobby is just no competition for them.
It's a frag for Indonesia, but it's also a big loss for Malaysia. That was the one player they were sending down to the southeastern side, down to the low ground early, and they lost him to a solo snake from Pakistan. Not quite aware of the positioning, getting punished for it. That's going to make their approach so much harder. They could have had a player holding down Indonesia. They could have had a player helping out with anything on the northern side. They are now missing out completely. As like you said, Indonesia still putting up numbers. Vietnam as well. But in two very different ways here. One of them just hiding out for placement points in the bunker, and the other one getting themselves 8 eliminations already.
Yeah. I didn't even realize Vietnam was still alive, to be honest. Shadows holding out for his team. Yummy, maybe with that nade, tries to clear him out, but no, he's not going to be baited as easily. They now realize he's on the staircase. Another nade raining down. Shadows has got enough space down there, though, to dodge all of these. Let's see what they do. I think they're trying to park the vehicle just on top of the staircase, so we can't really exit on our side. That is so smart. I love what Yummy is doing. Maybe destroy the vehicle on top of that as well. But no, for the time, oh, no, okay, interesting. He doesn't park it all the way down. I think he's trying to throw one more nade, so he's got time to park it down, and he can't peek him.
I think so too. I think he's a little scared to get peeked at the wrong time. Now, he's done a little bit of damage with the nade. He doesn't know that, but he has actually bought some time. And Shadows, I think he's trying to make the way through the blue. I think he's realizing that he's getting closed in there. Look at the amount of damage he's already taken. And yeah, there's the car sending down. There's the car exploded.
Wow.
And it's beautiful from Indonesia. They're having some fun with it. And they're absolutely ruining any sort of chance for Shadows to come out of this bunker alive. Beautiful stuff from Indonesia here. Not sure if you want to commit another nade, but maybe they just have more that they can use. Maybe they just have a huge amount of loot on these bodies next to the bunker. But they have certainly dealt with the threat of someone coming out of their bunker, and that's always good to see.
That's massive. That is so smart. I love these small little things that can make a difference. And Indonesia, so far, they've always gathered that second place. Let's see if it works out this time around as well. The car's dropped down all the way. They know he has to be just behind the car as well. I'm not sure how that nade from Yami didn't finish him off entirely. But now, at the very latest, they should see him at the kill feed. And Vietnam is going to be out. Just one more team for Indonesia to grab that second place a fourth time in a row.
It's incredible, right? It wasn't looking like it at all. They were down to 2 members so early on in the game, but they've somehow been able to make the right rotation into the shelter area, make the right prioritization of fights happen for themselves, and been able to, once again, get so close to that second place. Thailand as well, by the way. They're the dominant team in this, but once they have to step on from their ridge, there's not a whole lot left. If things go really poorly here, if the timings really work out for the duo and the solo, there's a chance this still falls apart for Thailand here because they have so little cover left once they come up from the bottom, but that's a big nade, that's a big opening.
Oh, yes, it is. Yami goes down. Maybe the curse has now been broken. Just the wrong way around. Dictor is there, and yes, they will find him. I think Gavi was actually the one to find the second one as well. We'll have to take a look back at it. Either way, Indonesia goes down. It's just one player left alive now, and it is Nepal again, who's also securing a top finish once more. But in the end, only one team can reign the winner of match number 5. And that is Thailand for the first time today.
Big win for Thailand, and somehow... watching it again. Somehow, Indonesia almost creeped into that second place again. Not sure how, but they've almost done it again, Felix.
Yeah, it's crazy rotates. It's just smart thinking. And I feel like this was one of the rounds where they also could have won the round. Again. I think this is the 4th time now we've seen Indonesia being in a spot to potentially win it as well. If that circle shift goes a little bit more south, if they group up earlier and don't play as greedy, that would have been the case, but no, it's going to be Thailand on the other side, playing it really smartly as well. We said it's a really experienced roster coming in from them as well, and Thailand as a region itself is always big in PUBG Mobile. So great to see them play. They needed this one as well. 19 points is going to bump them up the leaderboard a lot.
Absolutely. It's every win matters. Every win is a big step towards the top on these leaderboards, no matter how many kills you get with it. But 9 is no small feat, and there's the hot drop that just absolutely exploded on us without us realizing. As Cambodia and Pakistan, I think, just went head-to-head once again in that Millie Island. But winner of the hot drop played a pretty damn good game. So I guess if you do get out of it consistently, it is worth it, but nobody really does. So tricky subject for both these teams.
Yeah, I'm so worried. Cambodia, for the second time, actively deciding for that hot drop. They didn't just drop anywhere in the military base. They knew they were going to be hot drop, and they dropped close to them. So they really wanted this hot drop for a second time. Does it make sense, though? I'm not so sure. It's a best of 12. We said it. It's different in a kind of like a league phase where you have maybe 18, maybe 24 matches that are to be played, and you have to fight for your loot spot. This time around, you're only playing, 6 matches in total on Erangel. If you hot drop 2 of them and you lose them, that is your qualification. That's 2 less chances, and someone is going to take these 2 chances if only 3 spots are to be determined for who goes to Riyadh and who doesn't. So, man, Cambodia, as I said, one of the absolute favorites here for these top 3 spots as well. Just not looking prime.
Not looking good right now for them at all. They've really had a very slow start to it. Indonesia is the opposite end of that scale. They will continue in first here after this. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, no.
They got very close to double-digit elims. They got a 3rd place again. Crazy stuff from them so far. And then Thailand just playing a beautiful game of PUBG from that ridgeline. Just slow control, getting the information. You highlighted the spoiler they had on to hold that entire western side free for themselves, or entire eastern side, while the other three were working on the west, and making sure they position themselves and they prioritize their threats, right? There's a threat that Malaysia comes rolling down the hillside with 3. They put 3 Thailand player there and nothing will ever happen. So really well played from them, really well balanced on the approach, and then they clean it up in the end. But like I said, I don't think that was free in the end. They had all the manpower, but they did not have the positional advantage. They cleaned it up super easily.
Yeah, perfect stuff. Let's take a look at some of these statistics that we have for match number 4, which I said was match number 5, I think, unfortunately. So, sorry for that confusion. Yeah, Thailand. Interesting statistics. 3 frags on both Tuat and Gewi. I think that is kind of to be expected, as these two guys would frag out just based off of what we've seen so far in the qualification stages. So not a whole lot of surprises here. On the other hand, we have Secret and Duktiko, both with really important roles though. I think they were very integral, especially Duktiko. I know he didn't get the frags I think he necessarily wanted from that shelter area, but he held their back so well, and that's where I gotta give him credit. If he wouldn't have taken a spoiler position and wouldn't have pressured everyone else around them, then I think that game wouldn't have been taken by Thailand as convincingly, at least, as they did.
And look at the damage dealt and the damage received on Evo, Bullet Evo.
Yeah.
92 damage received, 770 damage dealt. That is mental. That man's been dishing out, and he's not been taking any damage in the process. So that's where it really matters. That's one of the best stats to look at when you look at sort of the impact a player has, is not just the damage, but the damage dealt by divided by damage received. Because if you're taking the same amount of damage you're dealing, then you're not really making any progress. But he did a massive amount that game, so well played by him.
Yeah, perfect. Let's take a look at some of these match summary statistics. 300 nades and smokes being used again. That's less than I expected from the zone, to be honest. Then again, not that much open space. I think we're going to get to see that Miramar will have a lot more smokes and nades being used. A lot of hard cover fights, a lot of breaches as well. The very centralized positions were, at least in phase 4, 5, and 6, most of the time compounds. So that's where smokes and nades are not necessarily being used as much, especially smokes. Good round, though. Good round. I thought a little bit less action than what we had on the previous one. And also, less favorites at the very top. This is around a completely new kind of set of teams that kind of went ahead and did something for themselves. I'm talking Thailand, I'm talking Pakistan, also to some degree Malaysia. Yes, we did have them in the top 5 already before that, but this time around, they really solidified themselves in it.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, we see Indonesia popping off here as well with the damage and knocks, but highest DLMs on a Malaysian player. They had really good control of the dirt road on top of that hill for a very long time, and pretty much again did their job, did their duty, and when the circle went away from them, it was pretty much over for them. So I don't think they can be all too sad about not making it down the hill, but they did a fantastic job once while they were up there.
100%. Let's take a look at who's taking the match MVP. It is Kenny from Malaysia. Interesting. I think that's the first time we're seeing him here. He's originally not from the actual roster that we saw the rest of the players be from the Yudo Alliance. He is, I do believe, from Sem9. So, also interesting. Sem9, big organization, big organization. That was actually the ones that won the Malaysia Esports Championship in the start of this year. I'm not sure if he played at that time at this roster. I'll have to wait and see, but he's definitely one of the more experienced players from Malaysia either way. Strong fragger. You can see it here. Total eliminations 5 with 2 and 1 on assists and headshots.
Good performance from him. We'll have a look at the head-to-head to see who's second place. I'm guessing it's going to be an Indonesian player. I'm guessing it's going to be one with 4 elims. And there you have it. 4 elims, yes. No Indonesian players to speak of, though. It's Malaysia. It's Thailand and Pakistan. Squaring off with 4 versus 3. So, bit more balanced out on those teams, I believe. The kills have been a little bit further spread apart, but 950 damage on IQ is pretty mental, honestly. Yeah,
IQ having one hell of a game. Pretty good stuff that came out from him, especially since he didn't really survive that long. 21 minutes. I believe that was phase 6 or 7 that he went out. And on the other hand, we have Thailand with 2 at 3-all. second time in a row, he's really come close to MVP, and one time he's actually taken it. So he's having one hell of a performance for Thailand so far, even though Thailand isn't too far up the leaderboard. But maybe, just maybe, that's about to change after this game. So we'll take a look at it in just a couple of moments. 9 eliminations for Thailand, and actually the one team that had the most amount of eliminations, obviously, because Indonesia lost 2 players early. Who knows what would have happened otherwise? But it is Pakistan. So 12 eliminations and 11 assists on Pakistan. Crazy, crazy stuff, and good teamwork coming out from the Pakistani players.
Really hard game from them as well. After their hot drop, they start the game with 4 kills, sure, but well deserved by how aggressive they played that. And then really hard game from them playing in from the south. We saw them around these compounds, right, where there was just seemingly no way in. But 12 elims is going to make you forget that you only had 2 placement points. So 14 for Pakistan, 19 with the chicken dinner for Thailand. And then the consistency kings, Indonesia and Malaysia up there, who are still, I think, going to dominate the overall scoreboard just by staying in that top 5 pack here almost every single game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Pakistan, such a strong round, is definitely going to bump themselves up. I think they were on the second half of the leaderboard as well, so that's why it's extra important for them to have such a good round. Indonesia, Malaysia, once again, consistent progress. They don't need, at this point, I think at this point, Indonesia doesn't need a big round anymore. That's completely fine if they salvage a round like this to 13 points. That's easily enough to stay in the qualification stages for the rest of this tournament, essentially. And Malaysia with 13 points, also really important, especially since the straight-up competition around them on the total overall leaderboard, we're going to take a look at that in a second, as I said, hasn't really had that great of a game. Cambodia, the one team I really want to talk about in the second half, as well as Bhutan and Japan, not making anything work. And I've said it time and time again, Cambodia, please stop the hot jobs. Maybe then we can see your true strength.
Yeah, it's rough for them. I mean, we've just seen Pakistan pull it off. Cambodia really on the lower end of that hot drop for now. Indonesia, no surprise, staying first. No surprise so far. 47 and 47 for Nepal after 4 games. Neatly tied up for second and third. And then Thailand is pushing themselves into the top 4 here. They were a little bit out of that, but they're pushing themselves past Vietnam, past Bhutan, and making sure that they show up towards the top. Indonesia, the only team in the top 4 without a chicken dinner right now.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. 3 times the second place, 1 time the third place. That's how it is at the moment in terms of placing points. And they still got the most amount. They haven't got a chicken dinner. They still got the most amount. If that doesn't speak to their consistency and to their chances of qualifying, I don't know what does. 58 points at the moment. That is more than 20 points difference. It's massive. Let me tell you, it is massive for a best of 12 to already have a 20-point difference on a non-qualification spot. So Indonesia, also in terms of playing with pressure, is not going to feel any at all. All the teams right now in single digits are in big trouble. They need a win today. Otherwise, it's mathematically almost impossible to still qualify. I'm talking Chinese Taipei, I'm talking Hong Kong, China, I'm talking Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Laos, and Japan.
Absolutely so, and especially when the top 3 is separating themselves so much, right? It's 47, 47, 58. It's not just that you're far away from the top, it's also that the top 3 is separating themselves from the rest of the pack. So even a 7th place team here has to make big strides to fight for qualifications. Yeah. And that's not mentioning a 17th place team that is in a completely different class of points right now. So tough times for the teams at the bottom. They still have 2 more matches today to turn things around, and they cannot wait for tomorrow. I cannot wait for game 5. So we're going to give you a short break, and then we're going to head into Miramar to close on out the night.